Did I kind of hear about your background a little bit? Did you study in China a long time ago?
Yes, actually. So I did my master's in Fudan University. I
Oh,
did Chinese politics and diplomacy. So I guess Guojia Guangxi, but specifically Chinese politics and diplomacy. I think if I didn't work in esports, maybe I would work in a think tank or maybe in the UK diplomatic service because both of my parents are diplomats. So this is how I
wow.
this is how I came to China for the first time, and this is how I got into involved in esports because when I was in China, when I was at university here, I had opportunities to do a little bit of scouting for some teams, and then over the years, it was just something I did a little bit as a hobby, and then when I came back to Europe, I got an opportunity from somebody who heard about my work from Brazil. And he asked me, you're a coach that I've heard about before. How would you like to come to Brazil and just, try this full time? And I was doing my PhD. It was a difficult discussion with my parents, but in the end,
Of
I have
course.
very strict parents.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But
Uh,
in the end, they allowed me to go, and this is again how I got involved into esports.
wow, what a great story. Amazing. Okay, so I guess let's just like come back to EG. How do you feel about EG as a team, like this time around at MSI and being the coach for the team? Like, how is it overall for you? Bring this team to an international level.
So honestly, it was a little bit of a surprise for EG to go to MSI. We promoted two young rookie players. I guess Danny is technically a sophomore, but in North America, we count rookie as your first two seasons, not your first two splits. Sorry, not your first split. So we have two rookies, and honestly, we were mainly targeting going to Worlds in summer split. So the fact that the team was able to develop so fast was a surprise, even for people within EG. So I'm glad that we got to help our players uh, get this international experience so early in their career as a team. However, I can't help but be a little bit disappointed with our performance at MSI. I think that a lot of the top teams played a style of play that we weren't used to playing against in North America, and they were able to kind of neutralize our aggression. So in North America, EG are either a team where we smash the early game or we force aggressive rotations to get team fights in the mid game. Now at international competition, you don't smash the early game, right? Like it's like all the teams that are MSI are national champions, and all the major region teams, they all have very, very talented players. Even teams like PSG, even Saigon, they have strong players, strong individual players. So the way that we would need to beat a team like this is to force aggressive plays to get good, team fight situations to win the game. I think because this is how we win in North America. But G2 and RNG were very, very smart in their rotations. They were very good at neutralizing our aggression, and we couldn't really make progress. So in one sense, I'm glad that we went to MSI. I'm glad we put on a good performance. I'm glad we made it to the semifinals, which is good for a North American team. But I feel that we have a long way to go. And I think G2 and RNG taught us some very strong lessons, and we will go back to North America and try to learn from those lessons.
So you're now you're looking at summer split, and obviously you got that experience from MSI, right? What kind of things can you maybe give to other NA teams for them to develop to become a better league? And like now you're looking at Worlds right now because you're already the champion. So what for Worlds? How are you going to improve as a team?
Oh, okay. So first things first, we have to think a little bit about tiredness and burnout. The LCS season finished 1 week before MSI. Basically, we played our LCS finals. We got on a plane the next day to Korea, and then we went to quarantine. So all of our players are pretty tired.
Very tired.
my number one concern right now is managing burnout. My players have had 1 week vacation in the last 5 months because we've been grinding very hard. But aside from that, if you talk about what lessons we can learn from MSI and what we can bring to North America, I think so. In North America, EG are a team that win like every scrim. We win 90% of our scrims in North America. Maybe the performance on stage is mixed, but in terms of practice, the practice often isn't the highest level because all the games are over so quickly. So what I hope from MSI is that a lot of teams in North America can maybe study RNG, maybe study G2, study T1, and see if they can learn some lessons for how to counter EG and how to challenge us. Because I think it's very, very important that EG are challenged if we want to avoid something like MSI happening again in summer. So I hope that teams have followed and studied what happened at this tournament so that they can apply that and challenge us. So we're forced to adapt. If you're talking about what we so that's for North America. If you're talking about what we ourselves can learn, we've seen a lot of more interesting neutralizing strategies, and I think that these are maybe things that we can practice a little bit more, especially in scrims in North America. Even our natural style, like I said, is to be really, really aggressive and force all the time. But even if we don't play it on stage, being able to play a more controlled style in scrims and in practice means that we can understand how these styles work. So when teams in the future try to play against us in that way, we can learn from it and understand how these kind of strategies work against us, so that we don't get countered as hard as we were in MSI.
Got it. Do you feel like from the management side or from like the coaching staff side, the staff, do you think EG has something that could maybe improve on the next time around when you're going into international events?
For sure. I think the best example is Jojo Pian. So Jojo Pian obviously was playing Fortnite 18 months ago. He literally didn't play League until 18 months ago. To give you an idea of how fresh he is, we had a tournament. We had 2 situations in this split, which basically, as a coach, just made me laugh, right? Because they were so funny. We played the lock-in tournament where we lost 3-0 in the final, the pre-season tournament in North America. We lost 3-0 to TL, and we were reviewing the game. And he saw in the VODs we were playing against GP, and he just said, "Wait, can you pause the replay? GP Barrel here just crit me. Can GP Barrel crit?" And like everyone in the team is just looking at him and saying, "Are you serious?" So he didn't know about GP Barrel critting, and he didn't know there was one situation in the split where he died to Graves because he jumps in front of Graves and he doesn't realize that Graves does more damage at close range. So to give you an idea of this, these are things that he just doesn't know. And when he sees, Caps play a Nivea against him, now he knows what the Nivea does. He's never seen an Nivea before. So this is one area where the team can progress a lot. The other area that we can progress a lot is we can learn a little bit from dealing with the kind of stage pressures at an international tournament. The pace of play at international is much, much faster than North America. You don't get as much time to think, and you have to always, if you're not forcing something, the enemy team is forcing on you, and you don't have that time. And I think this is the same for all major regions. I think it's the same for RNG playing international versus playing in China. I think it's the same T1 playing international, because again, none of the teams that go to international competition from major regions are bad, right? Like it doesn't mean that you're not, it doesn't, like RNG is still going to be favored against Cloud9 or something in Worlds if they don't play them. But Cloud9 will have ways to hurt them in ways that, maybe teams that they're used to every single day might not. I'm lower table teams in LB. So I think that adapting to this fast pace of play is something that we can learn from. I think adapting to the pressures of playing international tournament we can learn from, and I think also our players are very, very young. They have a lot to learn, and that's something that we can hopefully adapt more coming into Worlds.
That being said, it's very refreshing, and obviously, we really appreciate the team is bringing new rookies onto the international stage and trying them out, and actually get really good experience and present really good performances. I think on the international stage, judging from their experience, right? So, how do you feel like these rookies playing on international tournaments maybe could influence NA as a league, like a little bit of a change, or maybe like for the entire the competition or your team in general? Because like bringing rookies, they have all these passion, but sometimes they don't really know like some strategies or some basic in-game kind of knowledge. So how do you balance that out? And do you feel like rookies bringing this strategy, this EG's plan of bringing rookies on the stage is a good thing, like for the league, for NA, for all teams?
So yeah, I think it is a good thing. I think that it's not just about that. It's also rookies are very eager to learn. They develop very, very quickly, and they absorb new information.
Yeah.
And rookies in North America, because our lower leagues are so underdeveloped, the rookies that you have in North America are more like fresh than a rookie, maybe from Europe or rookie from China, because they've had the opportunity to develop a lot in the LDL, or the European regional leagues. And this in North America, the lower leagues below LCS, like the level is very, very, very low. So I think it's a good thing. I think also, I think it's important because in North America, for many, many years, for the last 5 or 6 years, there's been an idea that you just cannot win with native North American talents, especially mid. Like there's no North American mid laner that's won LCS for 7 years, I think. And Jojo came in as a rookie and from switching to Fortnite and won in his first professional split. So I think that can only help the region. I think also, I think when you have a region like North America, which relies so heavily on import talent, there's a danger that you're importing the wrong type of player. So maybe I can use for your Chinese viewers, I can use an example. If you think about players like Rookie and players like Doenby, these are players who they've adapted their entire life into China. They've adapted to Chinese culture. They can speak Chinese. They stream in Chinese. It's not just about, oh, I'm coming to LPL. I'm going to take my paycheck, and I'm going to leave, right? And in North America, we have rookies. We have imports like this. We have imports, such as Core JJ, such as Impact. They've been here for many, many years. They spend a lot of their time trying to make the region better. Core JJ does a boot camp before the season. Impact does a lot of how do I say this? A little bit of educational content, to help people in the region, and they're invested in the region and they want the region to do well. The problem is, a lot of teams just hire players just because of the name value, and they don't think about what they can contribute long term. So you have a lot of instability in the league where you have a star player, let's say Perks. Perks was in North America last year. He comes in, the entire team is built around him, and then he's gone in 1 year. And what did you gain from it, right? You gain like an international result, but in terms of sustaining things for the region and building long term, it's very hard to build long term in that kind of situation. This is a situation, of course, LPL went through, like 2015, 2016, maybe a little bit 2017, where that situation was being resolved. But North America has been in that state for 7-8 years now, and hopefully by EG winning, we can show that this is not the only way to win, and maybe we can persuade other North American teams to think in the same way.
Very, very good answer. Thank you for that. So in terms of NA developing talents from NA, so do you have any suggestions besides from like maybe the champion queue, or what else can they do to develop more native talent, you think?
Oh, are we talking in the short term, or are we talking in 5 years? Are we talking 5 years, or are we talking 1 year?
Like 5. I don't think that much could change in 1 year.
Yeah.
Like
I
change people's mind in like 1 year.
No, I completely agree with you, and that's a problem, right? Because there's so much fundamentally wrong with the ecosystem in North America that the change will be slow, right? So if we're talking about 5 years, I think that there's two big differences. Number one, the way that the lower league competition is structured needs to change, and has changed recently. It changed last year, because it gives teams players more opportunity to showcase their talent without committing long term to an organization, right? And this is really good for scouting, for us, for scouting. It's really good for helping people to get recognized, because sometimes maybe you have a bad reputation, from solo queue or something, and then no team dares to pick you up, and then you're a talent that just sits around. Whereas now in the new system, we have something called proving grounds. You can just make your own team. You can enter with anybody, and you can just show your value, and you can force teams to pay attention. Maybe one team doesn't pick you up, so you build a team with your friends and you go and smash them, and now people have to pay attention. They have to listen, right? So I think that's one way. Champions Queue, obviously, as you mentioned, very, very important. But also the change in the lower systems means that there's more opportunities for coaches to come and develop. Because I think the biggest weakness North America has is there's no potential for coaches to develop, because we didn't have a system below. We didn't have a strong system below academy before. And if you're coaching an academy coach skill set is very, very different from an LCS coach skill set, right? Because in LCS, your job is to win, right? Like you win as many games as you can. Maybe if you win a lot, you can win the league. But even if you're on a smaller team, you still want to win and you still want to make playoffs, right? There's no long-term thinking. In academy, your goal is to develop players, right? It's not to win, right? You want to develop as many players as you can to go into the LCS, but there's no opportunity. So you can develop coaching skills by working in academy, but you can't develop, how do I say, winning skills, right? The skills that you need to help a team win over the long term. And because of the new format that they have now, it's possible, in the same way that a player who didn't get picked up by a team can now develop, and win the tournament to show their value. Coaches can also do the same thing, right? So there's more ways for coaches to test their ability, more opportunity for coaches to make mistakes, more ability for coaches to learn. And I think that this is a big deal in North America, because if you want to develop talent, you can't develop talent without good coaching. And you look in Europe, I think Europe's biggest advantage is they have the European Regional League system, where every country in Europe has their own national league below NEC. And that means that every year Europe is producing 80 to 100 coaches, right? Wow. Every year, 80 to 100 coaches are gaining one more year of experience. Maybe it's in the French league, which is 100,000 viewers, 200,000 viewers. Maybe it's the Greek league, which has 50 viewers, right? But the point is that all the time you have coaches who are developing their skills, and in a competitive environment. And in NA, we just haven't had that chance. But now, at least in NA, 16 teams maybe you can have 16 coaches who are doing it. So we don't have as much as maybe in China or maybe in Europe, but a start is a start. And the people who are now starting their coaching career now, coaching these amateur teams, of friends from solo queue or from school, these are the coaches that will come into LCS later with the experience and be able to help make a positive difference. So that's what I'm very excited to see long term. But obviously, like you say, this is not something that can change in 1 year. This is like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, right? Because you have to change the ecosystem.
Just amazing for me to hear all that from you. Very knowledgeable. I learned a lot from our conversation. Thank you so much. So what do you think, next question, what do you think is the difference between playing with Korean LCK teams or EU teams or LPL teams? How do you deal with the different styles?
So it's very funny, because in the West, we have this idea in NA and in EU that the Chinese teams are always the really aggressive, they're going to hit you hard, like mechanically skilled team, they're just going to hit you hard early and they're just never going to stop hitting you until you survive or you lose, right? Whereas in Korea, there's an idea that the LCK teams are more, smart, they're going to outthink you, they're going to stop you from playing. But actually, at this MSI, that's not what happened. T1 were the team, they just hit you early and they keep hitting you. But RNG are a very smart team. And I think that this kind of thing is changing a little bit, because so over the past few years, there's been a move towards more aggression in the game. So a lot of the things which made early League of Legends like play in a certain way at the top level, have been removed. So vision, vision was a lot of vision tools were removed, going for season 5, season 7 onwards, right? Which means that the game, you cannot play the game at like 100% certainty anymore, number one. So the knock-on effect from this is because laning phase and team fighting has been prioritized a lot. A lot of the top players who come in right now, people from solo queue, they have really, really high mechanics, but maybe not so much experience for how to play the game. So they can like outhand you, out mechanic you. But things like rotations, things like map setups, things like controlling the enemy team, a lot of this knowledge is being lost outside of certain veteran players. So in Korea, historically, so this is just my opinion, right, looking from the outside, but as more rookie players, have been introduced into Korea, some of this knowledge is being lost, and we see this in a team like T1. T1, very, very good hands. Like, I've never seen a team that has like hands as good as T1. Like Carrier, Gumusi, like Zeus, these guys have all incredibly good hands, but in the mid game, sometimes they can be a little bit lost for how to advance the game. I think the opposite is true in China. In China, sure, you have new players who are coming up. You have players like Strive and Verata, this guy called Wang Xiao, who is coming up from Test Challenger. Like, that's a guy that people should really look out for, because that guy's going to be a star one day. He's really, really good. But you have these players coming up now, but a lot of the veteran knowledge has been retained, right, in a way that isn't being done in Korea. So I think we're seeing a little bit of a shift now, where the Chinese teams have maybe gone from being a more overly aggressive team to being a region now where you have a lot of different styles, but the ability to outthink your team, outthink the enemy team, or the ability to outplay is something which is very, very outplay on the map. Sorry, not in a team fight. Is something which is heavily valued, and maybe this is something you see in China a lot. Like with RNG. RNG, maybe they're top 10 mechanic team in the world, but they're the smartest team in the world for sure. And we saw this happen in playoffs. Test top esports, super, super good hands team, probably the best hands team in China, maybe top 1, top 2. But in their series against RNG just stopped them from playing the game. Same way as they stop EG from playing the game, except even EG are worse than top, right? But this kind of thing is very interesting, because I don't think it's right anymore to say that LPL has a single identity for its teams, or LCK has a single identity for its teams, because it depends a lot on what the team is valuing. And in RNG's case, it's about valuing veteran talent and about valuing in-game intelligence, right? And that makes RNG different from top. It makes RNG different from, say, JDG. These teams all have different priorities. So I think China, the one thing about Chinese teams at international competition is they can always do one thing really, really well, better than anybody else. But now, and this has been true since season 2, right? Like, always the Chinese teams, they could do one thing very, very well. But now you see a lot more flexibility, and that's what makes LPL really, really scary. Whereas before they only had one sword, now they have like 5 different swords. You can break one sword, but they'll come at you with another. So I think that's what I would say about LPL. For LCK, I think they're going through a transition period now as the new talent comes up. The new talent needs to be developed. So we'll see how that goes. The smartest team in Korea is probably Damwon. So I'm pretty sure Damwon will be at Worlds this year. So we'll see if that adapts. And as for Europe, I think Europe is a bit more. I think Europe is again a region that is more about develop. It's more about how the individual teams play. Like a team like G2, but often in Europe, the key thing on the European teams is to always look at who the star player on the team is. So if you have a team like G2, they'll invest a lot of resources into making somebody like Caps look really good, right? And then Caps will kind of control the game. You look at a team like Fnatic. who's the star player on Fnatic? It's Hylissang, right? So they'll do a lot of situations where they'll try to neutralize the game, and then they say to the star player, okay, you make the difference. You know? So it's Caps, it's Hylissang, it's on Rogue it would be Larson, like Rogue are the exception, right? Because Rogue have a lot of. On Misfits, it's VTO, right? Like I don't know if people know who VTO is, but it's always neutralize the game, let your star player do something, and play very hard for your star player. That's what I would say the European thing.
Awesome, thank you. So I guess we're almost at the end of our interview. Just the one last question: like, how do you think EG can come out from all these different styles within regions? Like, there's one thing that EG can hold on to and focus on to win over all different other regions. What would it be?
That's an interesting question. So that's a very interesting question. I'll try to give a short answer, but basically, we don't have a style right now because this is a team full of rookies that they don't know how they're going to play. I have no idea what kind of a player Danny will be in 5 years. I have no idea what kind of a player Jojo will be in 5 years. So they are still writing their story, you know. So as a coach, I can advise these guys, but how they learn and how they develop together is going to be really interesting to watch. For now, I think that we're gonna still be the same aggressive team fighting team that we always were, that we were in spring, and that, you know, every team that I've coached has played this way. You know, we play hard for early game. We try to team fight. We try to force the enemy team to make mistakes. But who knows? You know, maybe Jojo turns into a really good control player, you know, who can neutralize the game like Jahu, and he'll develop into that style. But I think for now we're going to keep going aggressive. We're going to learn our lessons that we learned from MSI, and we're going to try to come in with a more aggressive approach come the World Championships.
I guess you can say that EG has a lot of potential for the future, right?
Yes,
we don't know where they're going, but they have a lot. Like I interviewed Danny this morning, and he was so good at talking. Like, he's so steady, and he wasn't like afraid of talking or like doing like long conversations with me at all. So I feel like this person like is very mentally stable, I guess, and I feel like he has a lot of potential. And with you as the coach, I really look forward to the team going on top and going to Worlds every time, hopefully.
Thank you. No, as you say, Danny, he's a very level-headed person. It's very funny because him and Jojo are so close friends, whereas Jojo is he's maybe a little bit of the opposite. You know, he's very outward looking. He doesn't always think before he speaks.
Twitter Jojo.
Yeah, and Danny obviously very quiet, very reserved, very thoughtful, you know, very smart. I mean, they're really close friends. Like they really, really get on very well together, but they're very, very different people. So it's very fun to watch them and very fun to coach them as well. So I can't wait to see how they develop over the next few years.
Awesome. So thank you so much for the interview. I learned a lot of knowledge, very knowledgeable. One of the best interviews I've ever had. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.